Hey, so Only Here is taking a production break for the next few months. We've got some exciting things we're working on, but in the meantime, we're going to keep the feed alive by bringing back some of our most popular episodes. First, we have a show we wanted to run in light of a recent Supreme Court decision impacting undocumented people. In June, the U.S. Supreme Court blocked the Trump administration's plan to dismantle Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, a federal program that's protected hundreds of thousands of undocumented people from deportation. The Supreme Court ruled that Trump couldn't end DACA in the way he tried to, but that he does have the right to end it through other means. So DACA recipients, or Dreamers as they're often called, are safe, at least for the time being. But Trump has said he's currently considering his next move, so the program is still at risk. And that means the feelings of anxiety and uneasiness in undocumented people is still there, as strong as ever. Before we get into it, if you've got a border story you want to share, call us at 619-452-0228 anytime and leave a voicemail. We hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you for listening. For years, Beto Soto had two secrets. And these weren't small secrets. These were really big secrets. The kind that define who you are. Beto is openly gay now, but he didn't come out until a few years ago.
It all just came out like vomit, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not how I pictured my coming out. I wanted a party. I wanted a cute rainbow flags, and you know what I mean? But it wasn't that way, and it had to happen in order to keep me safe. You know, I think if I wouldn't have done that, I would have probably fallen into a dark place and not followed my, goals and ambitions.
Following goals and ambitions, though, was doubly hard for Beto because of his other secret. He's undocumented. Beto's been living without citizenship papers in the U.S. since his family brought him here when he was 6.
We just crossed and we ended up here. And honestly, most of us, we have shared that we didn't understand what that meant, we understand what it meant to come to the U.S. and what was that going to look like for us in the future, it's also crucial that people know that, we didn't know, we didn't decide to come here.
I'm Alan Lilienthal, and you're listening to Only Here, a KPBS podcast about the place where San Diego and Tijuana meet. Today, we talk to Beto Soto about being gay and undocumented, and the photographic series he made about the experience. Only here can you find an undocumented San Diego photographer documenting what it's like to live nearly your whole life in a country without full citizenship. More after the break.
Now on The Finest, we examine an icon. Our Lady of Guadalupe has been a powerful symbol for 500 years, and artists have reimagined her as a source of resilience and pride. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Beto laughs a lot, and not just about funny stuff. He laughs at really serious stuff, too. It seems like a defense mechanism, like he's laughing instead of letting his real emotions show. The 24-year-old artist has always struggled with anxiety. He says that the anxiety stems from the fact that, for years, he didn't tell people about two big parts of his personality. He's gay, and he's undocumented. Beto's been living in the U.S. since his family crossed him from Mexico through the San Isidro port of entry when he was 6. Beto's parents wanted to give their kids more opportunities than they had growing up. They knew it was illegal, but Beto says at the time it was fairly easy to cross, especially kids at the border. So it was a risk his parents were willing to take.
I remember eating McDonald's on the way here and saying my first English word, which was hi, to the Border Patrol agents. And we just passed like nothing. I remember waiting for my mother because it took her a while to get across. She She took about a month to get across, and we were really like dying because we needed our mom.
His mom did eventually make it through, and the family ended up settling in Palm Springs, a desert town just north of San Diego. Beto said the adjustment to a new life in a new country wasn't easy.
It was a little bit difficult because there were some racist people in Palm Springs. I did experience some classmates who were like very against Mexican people, which was like really, really hard, you know? Like you were like, wait, like why are you so mean to me? You know, like I just want to share my like Cheez-Its with you. You know what I mean? And it was difficult to experience that, you know, like not being able to like defend yourself in a way, you know, not being able to clearly tell her like, girl, stop.
Beto's parents moved to San Diego and ended up separating. The kids stayed with their mom. Because the family was undocumented, they often ended up in precarious living situations, depending on roommates to help them cover rent. At one point, they lived with a roommate who Beto says attempted to sexually assault him. Without planning on it, he ended up coming out to his mom as gay. It just spilled out of him when he finally decided to tell his mom about the assault.
I remember telling my mom, being scared, and she kind of didn't believe me in a way, but until I broke down, like hysterically, it's when she was like, okay, we gotta do something. So we moved away from there. Being a single parent's hard too, so the situation, you really have to just, sometimes I even thought about just staying quiet because I'm like, I don't want my mom to be struggling through another situation to finding a place to live in, you know? So yeah, it was difficult coming out.
Coming out of the closet proved to be life-changing. But at first, it made things worse. His mom took some time to get comfortable with the idea, so Beto ended up homeless for a short time. He reached out to the local LGBTQ center, but they couldn't provide much help.
I did remember them telling me you need a social security number for us to help you with housing, and that's beyond, you know, like, they can't really do much about that, you know, and I understand that. But it did really impact me. I'm like, wait, well, like, what do I do? Like, you know, I don't know. I don't have anybody. Like, I don't know where to go. Like, how am I going to keep surviving, you know?
But then things got better. Beto found his community. He connected with LGBTQ people and groups in town. A friend gave him a place to stay, and the groups gave him access to classes and resources that helped him build on his painting and photography skills. His happiness level increased big time. His anxiety started falling away. Then Beto found Aja Project, a local nonprofit that provides arts education to underserved youth. He felt like he had found a second home. The organization made him an official member of its youth council. And after a while, he felt safe enough to tell them about his undocumented status. Divulging that secret also proved to be life-changing. Time for a break. When we come back, how coming out as undocumented both gave Beto a better chance at a future here and also made him face the reality of deportation.
I had no words. I was like, I had a day to myself where I just sat in bed and thought about possibilities and outcomes and, you know, nightmares that can happen as well, you know, because they have our information. We've gone through several background checks.
More soon.
Now on The Finest. In San Diego and beyond, Our Lady of Guadalupe has morphed in meaning and form over the past 500 years.
She can be a source of comfort. She can be a source of pain. Her power comes because she has all of these different facets to her.
Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2012, former President Barack Obama announced the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. DACA shields people like Beto, those brought to the United States illegally as children, from deportation. The program also makes them eligible for a work permit in the U.S. Aja Project, the nonprofit Beto linked up with, walked him through the process of signing up for DACA. His mentors made sure he filled out every form and made it to every appointment. Up until then, Beto had been working freelance jobs or getting paid under the table at restaurants and cafes. But he wants to be a professional photographer. He just couldn't see a clear path forward or a real future for himself. DACA changed that.
I didn't really think that was going to be possible, until I met people doing this kind of work, like the Aja Project, that it made me see like it can be possible.
With the help of Aja Project and another nonprofit, the Open Society Foundations, Beto got to work on a documentary photography project he ended up calling Undocuqueer, Stories from Border Town. Beto found people like him who were both undocumented and LGBTQ. And over a year and a half, he checked in regularly with the people, taking photos of them and asking them to talk about what it was like growing up. He showed the result of his work, 36 photographs and powerful quotes from his interviews, at the Museum of Photographic Arts in Balboa Park last year. He also built a website, undocuqueer.org. The website includes more photos and the full written interviews with each person. It also asks other undocumented LGBTQ people to share their stories. Here are some bits of the interviews Beto did with Daniel Yu, Dayamis G, and Jesus M., all undocumented LGBTQ people who live in San Diego.
And not a lot of people know that I'm a DACA recipient, and it's not that I'm ashamed of it, but just nobody asks.
There's so much that people in our society and our community has gone through.
Through this time, it's also really important for me to highlight that we're humans too, right? And I'm not the first one, and I won't be the last one to say this, right? That we are human beings that feel, that cry, that get angry, and all of our emotions are valid, even when we are seen as less than, even when we are dehumanized, right? That we still deserve to be humans in all that that means.
At our interview with Beto at an outdoor cafe in South Park, he pulled out his computer and brought up photos of Dayamis, a transgender woman who performs as a drag queen in Hillcrest in North Park.
So this is one of the participants. It's a set of 20 photos, but we're showcasing 10 to 8 in each person. Let me open this.
Her story, like other stories in Beto's project, includes lots of confusion about identity, struggles with poverty, and trying to fit in. Beto's photos aren't perfect. In fact, they're not photoshopped at all. They're pretty raw. And many of them capture intimate moments that offer a glimpse into the day-to-day lives of undocumented LGBTQ people. For example, he included photos of the transgendered woman performing as a drag queen, but also took pictures of her sitting on her couch at home with her husband and two chihuahuas. Beto says he just wanted to show their humanity, tell their stories, try to make people understand why this group of people want to stay in the U.S., to continue living the lives they've worked so hard to build here.
I'm trying to convey mainly like to humanize our stories, to showcase that we're regular human beings, that we're doing regular things, going to work, going to school, persevering a career, just trying to get by sometimes too. Some participants have shared that they had to stop going to school because of, having to work full time to be able to afford living in San Diego as well. So it's just to convey that we're human, we're here and we were raised here just like your children, like our friends who are your children,
In 2017, the Trump administration announced plans to phase out DACA. Those plans are on hold, and various courts have said it's not legal to end it. But it's still not clear what's going to happen. When that first DACA announcement was made, a few of the undocumented people Beto was following for his project dropped out. They told him they didn't want their faces and their first names out in the public like that anymore. They were scared. The uncertainty was scary for Beto, too. The future he pictured for himself was starting to fall apart.
Every day is a roller coaster, to be honest. Every day I check into the groups that are created for undocumented people who are just sharing DACA news and experiences. And I hope every morning that I don't see something negative that's going to happen to DACA. And it's a constant trauma, I wake up every morning. I do what I love right now, and like tomorrow I won't be able to do that. Like it's so I always take each day like as if it's my last.
But being out as undocumented and gay has opened up worlds for Beto. It connected him to his community. It inspired him to create an art project that helps other people like him tell their story too. Through his art project, he's also become an advocate for the rights of undocumented people. To anyone who will listen, he'll tell them why they should care about undocumented people too.
Put yourself in my shoes. Imagine if you had no documentation. What would you do? How would you get along? How would you go by? Would you also want to be kicked out of the country you were raised in? It wasn't our choice. Like, it wasn't my choice. It wasn't any of our choices to come here. Who at 6 years old says, "Oh, I'm gonna go to America tonight"? Like, that doesn't happen. And this is why these kind of projects are important. To tell these stories, to be able to. For people to understand that, we were kids when we were brought here. We were working hard to make this country better as well.
The other day, as Beto was crossing the street, he says someone yelled out a car window at him, "You're gonna get deported!" It's hard. Every day is hard, he says. Beto can't bring himself to plan for what he'd do if he did actually get deported, sent back to a country he doesn't remember. Instead, he's trying to focus on getting into college. Beto's out from the shadows of his two big secrets, and things are okay at the moment. But with DACA still a big, hazy question mark, he's feeling like he's back in the dark again. Next time on the podcast, a new classical music composition that explores what immigration feels like for kids.
But the fact
These podcasts are made possible by listeners like you. Go to kpbs.org to make a donation or become a member today. Thank you.
Now on The Finest, we examine an icon. Our Lady of Guadalupe has been a powerful symbol for 500 years, and artists have reimagined her as a source of resilience and pride. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.